The emergency signal came at 3 in the morning, Earth time. Admiral Park Daeho was drinking coffee in his quarters when the red lights started flashing. The message was simple but terrible. New Busan was under attack. Park set down his cup and walked quickly to the bridge of his flagship. The Soul's Pride was the biggest ship in Earth's 7th exploration fleet. It had taken humans 50 years to build ships this good. And the aliens still laughed at them. "Sir, we have the full message," said Communication Officer Nam Hyun-soo. His young face looked worried. "The Keith Empire hit New Busan 2 hours ago. They have invasion ships and fighter groups. The colony is asking for help." Park looked at the star map. New Busan was home to over 2 million people. It was a farming world that grew food for 3 other human colonies. If the Keth took it, many humans would go hungry. "How long to get there?" Park asked. 4 days if we push the engines hard," answered Captain Kim Min-ho. Kim was Park's best ship captain and his old friend. They had served together for 20 years. Park nodded. "Send the message to all ships. We leave in 1 hour." Down in the science labs, Dr. Lee So-young was working late again. She always worked late. Her job was to study new technology and make human ships better. The work was slow and hard because humans were still learning about space travel. Lee heard the alarm bells and knew what they meant. Another human world was in trouble. She saved her research and headed to the bridge. Her latest project would have to wait. The 7th Fleet was Earth's best fighting force. It had 1 big flagship, 12 heavy cruiser ships, 24 smaller destroyer ships, and 48 groups of fighter planes. 15,000 humans worked on these ships. They were brave, but they knew the truth. Compared to alien ships, human technology was weak. The Galactic Council had 12 alien races in it. They called themselves the Hegemony Coalition. Earth had joined them 50 years ago, but the aliens treated humans like children. Human ships were slow. Human weapons were simple. Human shields were thin. The aliens had been traveling space for thousands of years while humans had barely left their home system. But humans had something the aliens did not understand. When other humans were in danger, they would risk everything to help. Park stood on his bridge and watched his fleet prepare to leave. Each ship was checking its engines and weapons. The crews were loading supplies and getting ready for battle. They all knew the Keith Empire was stronger than them. They went anyway. "All ships report ready," said Kim Min-ho. "Take us to hyperspace," Park ordered. The fleet jumped. Space twisted around them as they moved faster than light. The trip to New Busan would take 4 days. Park hoped they would not be too late. On the 2nd day of travel, something strange happened. Dr. Lee was on the bridge checking the navigation systems. She saw something that made no sense. "Admiral," she said, "there's something ahead of us. It's not on any of our maps." Park looked at the screen. In front of them was a swirling circle of energy. It was beautiful and terrible. Colors moved through it like water. It was bigger than a planet. "What is it?" Park asked. "I don't know," Lee said. She was the smartest person on the ship and she looked scared. "My instruments can't read it properly. It's giving off energy, but not any kind we know about." Kim Min-ho checked his own screens. "Sir, it's directly in our path to New Busan. We can go around it, but that will add 2 days to our trip." Park thought about the people on New Busan. 2 extra days might mean they would all be dead or taken as slaves. The Keth Empire did not show mercy. "What do your science readings say about going through it?" Park asked Lee. Lee looked at her instruments again. "The energy readings are off the charts. This could be a natural space phenomenon, or it could be something else, something artificial. Could our ship survive going through? I don't know, maybe. The energy doesn't look harmful, just different." Park walked to the front of the bridge. He looked out at the strange, swirling energy. His gut told him this was important. This was more than just a space anomaly. This was something that could change everything. "Sir," said Communication Officer Nam, "the other ship captains are asking for orders." Park made his choice. "All ships, this is Admiral Park. We're going through the anomaly. Stay in formation and follow my lead." The fleet moved toward the swirling energy. As they got closer, the colors became brighter. The ships began to shake as strange forces pulled at them. But they held together. Dr. Lee watched her instruments go crazy. "Energy levels are increasing. I'm reading things that shouldn't be possible." The Soul's Pride touched the edge of the energy circle. The ship's lights flickered. The air felt thick and electric. Then they were inside. Everything changed. The colors were all around them now. Space looked different. The stars were gone. The fleet was moving through something that was not normal space. Where are we? Someone asked. I don't know, Lee whispered. Then the energy pulled them deeper, and the human fleet disappeared from normal space completely. Back in regular space, the monitoring stations that tracked ship movements lost all contact with Earth's 7th Fleet. One moment they were there, the next moment they were gone. The news reached Earth in hours. Admiral Park Dae-ho and his entire fleet had vanished. No one knew where they had gone. No one knew if they were alive or dead. The Galactic Council heard the news and shook their heads. Typical humans, said the alien representatives. Always taking risks they don't understand. They probably flew into a black hole or a space storm. Meanwhile, the Keth Empire continued their attack on New Busan. Without Earth's fleet coming to help, the colony fell in 3 days. 2 million humans became slaves or were killed, but somewhere else in a place that was not normal space, Earth's lost fleet was about to discover something that would change the galaxy forever. 3 months passed after Admiral Park's fleet disappeared. Earth's remaining ships were few and weak. The humans knew they were in trouble. The Keth Empire saw their chance. These aliens were warriors who lived for battle and conquest. They had been watching human space for years, waiting for the right moment to attack. With Earth's best fleet gone, that moment had come. Keth warlord Grixtar stood on his command ship and smiled. His teeth were sharp like a shark's. His skin was dark red and covered in scars from many battles. He had conquered 12 worlds in his lifetime. The humans are weak now, Grixtar told his officers. Their strongest ships are gone. Their colonies have no protection. We will take 5 worlds at the same time. They cannot fight us everywhere. The Keth attack began without warning. 5 human colonies woke up to see alien warships in their skies. The colonies were Harmony, New Sol, Bright Star, Hope's End, and Golden Valley. Each had millions of people living peaceful lives. Commander Yoon Ji-woo was in charge of Earth's remaining defense forces. She had only 30 ships left, and they were old and slow. When the attack reports came in, she knew the situation was hopeless. We can't defend 5 worlds at once, her aide said. We don't have enough ships. Yoon looked at the tactical display. The Keth had brought over 500 warships. Each Keth ship was faster and stronger than anything humans had. Send what we can to each world, she ordered. Even if we can't win, we have to try. The battles were short and brutal. Human ships fought bravely but were quickly destroyed. The Keth had weapons that could cut through human armor like paper. Their shields could stop human missiles completely. On New Sol, Governor Bae Soo-jin watched the sky turn red with explosions. Her colony's defense satellites were being destroyed one by one. Soon the Keth ground troops would land. Evacuate the children first, she told her staff. Get them to the underground shelters, but there was nowhere to run. The Keth surrounded the planet. Anyone who tried to escape was shot down. Far away from the fighting, something strange was happening in the void sector. This was an area of space that most aliens avoided. It was full of dangerous gravity fields and dark matter storms. Ships that went there usually never came back. The hegemony had one monitoring station in the void sector. It was run by a mixed crew of different alien species. They watched for dangerous space phenomena and warned ships to stay away. Choi Hanbin was the only human working at the station. The aliens had given him the job because humans were good at noticing small details. Most days nothing interesting happened, but today was different. I'm reading massive energy signatures, Hanbin told his supervisor. A tall blue alien named Vex. Multiple objects moving in formation through the void sector. Vex looked at the readings and frowned. That's impossible. Nothing can survive in that area. Your equipment must be broken. No, the readings are clear, Hanbin insisted. There are 89 objects moving together. The energy signatures are familiar. Hanbin studied the data more carefully. His eyes grew wide. These look like human ship engines, but the power output is impossible. No human ship can generate this much energy. The readings showed ships moving in perfect formation through space that should have torn them apart. They were traveling at speeds that broke the laws of physics. Their energy output was 1,000 times stronger than the best human technology. Run the scan again, Vex ordered. They ran the scan 5 times. The results were always the same. Something that looked like a human fleet was moving through the most dangerous area of known space, like it was empty air. Vex reported the readings to Hegemony Command. Within hours, an exploration ship was sent to investigate. The ship was called Truth Seeker, and it was crewed by some of the best alien scientists in the galaxy. When Truth Seeker reached the coordinates, they found something that should not exist. 89 ships hung in space in perfect formation. They looked like human ships, but they were wrong somehow. The metal seemed to shift and flow like liquid. The colors were deeper and richer than normal matter should allow. "Attempt contact," ordered the Truth Seeker's captain. The communication officer sent a standard greeting message. For several minutes there was no response. Then a voice came back, speaking in perfect Korean and then in Galactic Standard language. "This is Admiral Park Dae-ho of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are returning home. Stay clear." The alien crew stared at each other in shock. Park Dae-ho was the human admiral who had disappeared 3 months ago. But these ships were nothing like the primitive human vessels that had vanished. "Admiral Park," the Truth Seeker's captain replied, "this is Captain Zex of the hegemony vessel Truth Seeker. Our records show your fleet was lost 3 months ago. What happened to you?" There was a long pause. When Park's voice came back, it sounded different. Older, sadder, but also much more powerful. "We found something in the dark between spaces," Park said. "Something that had been waiting for us. We are no longer the same fleet that left Earth 3 months ago. We are something new. Your ships, they don't match any known technology. How is this possible?" "We learned from teachers who are very old," Park answered. "Now we must return home. Our people are in danger." The alien captain tried to ask more questions, but the human ships began to move. They accelerated to impossible speeds and vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Truth Seeker behind. The report reached Hegemony Command within hours. The 12 alien races that controlled known space held an emergency meeting. The news was impossible to believe. "Humans cannot develop such technology in 3 months," declared the Vrex representative. "It took our species 10,000 years to reach our current level." "Yet the evidence is clear," said the Thorian delegate. "Something has transformed the human fleet. They now possess capabilities that exceed our own. This could change the balance of power in the galaxy," worried the Zephyrian ambassador. While the aliens debated, the human colonies continued to fall to the Keth Empire. On Harmony, the last human defenders were making their final stand. On Brightstar, Keth troops were loading human prisoners onto slave ships. Commander Yoon Ji-woo sat in her command center on Earth, watching the reports come in. Each human colony was sending its last desperate messages before going dark. "Golden Valley has fallen," her aide reported. "Hope's End has stopped transmitting. New Sol is requesting immediate evacuation." Yoon closed her eyes. Earth's colonies were dying, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The galaxy's other species watched and did nothing. To them, humans were just another weak race being conquered by a stronger one. "Ma'am," the communications officer said suddenly, "I'm getting a strange reading. Multiple ships are approaching Earth space." Yoon opened her eyes. "Keth? No, ma'am. The signatures are human, but they're not like any human ships in our database. On the view screen, 89 ships dropped out of hyperspace near Earth. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with colors that seemed to exist beyond normal light. At their head was a vessel that looked like the Soul's Pride, but transformed into something magnificent and terrible. "This is Admiral Park Dae-ho," came a voice over the communication system. "We have returned." Yoon stared at the screen. 3 months ago, Park's fleet had been Earth's hope. Now they looked like something from a dream or nightmare. "Admiral," she whispered, "where have you been?" The strange energy had pulled Park's fleet into a place that was not like normal space. The stars were different colors here. Space itself seemed to bend and twist in ways that hurt to look at. The laws of physics worked differently. "Where are we?" Captain Kim Minho asked. His voice was quiet with fear and wonder. Dr. Lee So-young studied her instruments, but they showed readings that made no sense. "We're in some kind of pocket dimension," she said. "A space that exists alongside our universe but separate from it." The fleet found themselves near a massive structure floating in the strange space. It was made of material that looked like crystal and metal mixed together. It was bigger than Earth's moon and covered in lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. "I'm detecting artificial intelligence signals," Lee reported. "Something inside that structure is trying to communicate with us." A voice spoke directly into their minds. It did not use words, but somehow they understood its meaning perfectly. "Welcome, children of Earth, I have been waiting for you." Admiral Park felt the voice inside his head like a warm light. Who are you? I am the archive. I am the last memory of a species that existed long before your son was born. My creators transcended physical existence eons ago, but they left me here to wait. Wait for what? For a species worthy of inheriting our knowledge. For beings who would use great power to protect others, not to conquer them. The archive explained that its creators had seeded the galaxy with tests. They watched as different species developed and grew. Most species, when they gained power, used it to dominate others. But sometimes, rarely, a species would show true nobility. Your people rushed into unknown danger to save strangers on New Busan, the archive said. Even knowing you were weaker than your enemies, you came anyway. This act of selfless courage marked you as worthy. The archive invited the human fleet inside its vast structure. What they found there was beyond imagination. Halls filled with knowledge from 1 billion years of galactic history. Laboratories where matter and energy could be shaped by thought alone. Libraries containing the secrets of space and time. But the knowledge came with a price. To use the archive's gifts, the humans would have to change. They would become something more than human, but also something different. The transformation is permanent, the archive warned. You will gain power beyond your current understanding, but you will also gain responsibility. You will become guardians of life itself. Park gathered his senior officers, Captain Kim Min-ho, Dr. Lee So-young, and Engineer Bae Soo-jin. They talked for hours about what this meant. If we do this, we can save not just New Busan, but all human colonies, Lee said. Maybe we can even bring peace to the galaxy. But we'll no longer be entirely human, Kim pointed out. What does that make us? It makes us what we need to be, Park decided. Our people are dying while we debate. I accept the transformation. One by one, his officers agreed. Then the word spread through the fleet. 15,000 humans faced the same choice. Most of them chose to change. The transformation took time. In the pocket dimension, time moved differently than in normal space. What felt like 30 years to the humans was only 3 months in the outside universe. The archive taught them to reshape their ships using materials that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The hulls became quantum phase matter that could exist partially outside normal space. The engines drew power from parallel universes. The weapons could affect reality itself, but the most important changes happened to the crew members themselves. They gained the ability to think faster and see further. Their lifespans became nearly immortal. They could feel the thoughts and emotions of all living things across vast distances. Dr. Lee So-young learned to interface directly with the ship's computers using her mind. She could calculate hyperspace jumps instantly and design new technologies with a thought. Captain Kim Min-ho discovered he could sense the battle intentions of enemy ships before their crews even made decisions. His tactical abilities became supernatural. Engineer Bae Soo-jin found she could reshape matter at the molecular level with her hands. She rebuilt their entire fleet into something that was part machine, part living organism. But Admiral Park gained the greatest gift and burden of all. He developed cosmic awareness, the ability to see the connections between all things in the universe. He could feel every act of cruelty and every moment of kindness across the galaxy. The responsibility is enormous, he told his transformed crew. We have the power to remake the galaxy, but we must never become tyrants. We must remain protectors, not conquerors. When their transformation was complete, the archive opened a portal back to normal space. The human fleet that emerged was nothing like the one that had disappeared. Their first encounter was with a Keth battle group that was heading to attack another human colony. The Keth commander looked at his sensors and laughed when he saw only 3 human ships approaching. Destroy those pathetic vessels, he ordered. The 3 ships were the destroyers Daegu Lightning, Gwangju Thunder, and Ulsan Storm. Their captains had once been junior officers in Park's fleet. Now they commanded weapons that could bend reality. The Keth opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons and missile barrages filled space with deadly energy. But the human ships simply phased out of normal space, letting the attacks pass through them harmlessly. Then the human ships returned fire. The Daegu Lightning fired a single beam that opened a hole in space-time itself. The beam passed through 6 Keth ships at once, erasing them from existence so completely that the universe forgot they had ever been built. The Gwangju Thunder launched missiles that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Each missile split into hundreds, of copies that attacked from directions that didn't exist in normal physics. The Olsen storm used its most terrifying weapon, a consciousness disruptor that made the enemy crews forget how to operate their own ships. Dozens of Keth vessels drifted powerless as their crews stared at controls they no longer understood. The entire battle lasted 4 minutes and 47 seconds. 200 Keth warships were destroyed or disabled by 3 human destroyers. The news of this impossible victory spread across the galaxy in hours. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions. Military analysts tried to understand how human technology could advance so far so fast. "It's impossible," declared Vrex Admiral Kethmore. "No species develops this quickly. Something has happened to the humans that we don't understand." But the transformed human fleet was already moving toward Earth. They knew their homeworld was in danger, and they were coming home to protect it. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of Soul's Pride, watching the stars stream past at impossible speeds. His cosmic awareness showed him the suffering of humans throughout the galaxy. Colonies under attack, people being enslaved, children crying for parents who would never return. "How long until we reach Earth?" he asked. 2 hours, reported Navigation Officer Choi Hanbin, who had volunteered to join the transformation when they had found him at the monitoring station. "And the Keth invasion force? They're already approaching Earth orbit," Captain Kim Minho said grimly. "Earth's remaining defenses won't last long," Park nodded. His cosmic awareness showed him the battle that was about to begin. Earth's orbital defense platforms against the Keith Empire's mightiest fleet. It would be a massacre unless they arrived in time. "All ships prepare for combat," Park ordered. "We're going home." Captain Song Yu-jin stood on the command deck of Earth's orbital defense station Hope's Shield. Through the viewport, she could see the Keth invasion fleet approaching. There were so many enemy ships that they blocked out the stars. "How many?" she asked her tactical officer. "Over 800 vessels, ma'am. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyers, and fighter carriers. It's the largest Keth fleet ever assembled." Song looked at her own forces. 12 defense platforms orbiting Earth, each armed with missiles and energy weapons. They were strong enough to defend against raiders or small fleets. Against 800 Keth warships, they would last maybe 10 minutes. "All stations, this is Captain Song," she broadcast to the other defense platforms. "We know the odds. But this is Earth. This is humanity's homeworld. We will not let them pass without a fight." The Keth fleet approached slowly, savoring their victory. Warlord Grixter stood on his flagship's bridge and smiled at the sight of the blue-green world ahead of them. "The human homeworld is beautiful," he said to his officers. "It will make a fine trophy. Begin the attack." Hundreds of Keth ships opened fire at once. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between Earth and the attackers. The human defense platforms fired back, but their weapons seemed tiny against the massive enemy fleet. Hope's shield shook as Keth plasma bolts struck its shields. The barrier held for now, but Song knew it would not last long. "Shield strength down to 60%, reported her engineer. "Return fire. Target their command ships." The defense platforms concentrated their fire on the largest Keth vessels. They managed to damage several enemy ships, but for every shot they fired, the Keth returned 20. On Earth's surface, people watched the battle through telescopes and electronic viewers. They saw the bright flashes of weapons fire in the dark sky above them. Parents held their children close and wondered if they would see another sunrise. Commander Yoon Ji-woo coordinated Earth's defenses from the planetary command center. Her remaining ships were already in the fight, but they were too few and too weak to make a difference. "Captain Song reports shield failure on 2 platforms," her aide said. "Dawn's Light and Liberty's Sword are taking heavy damage." Yoon watched the tactical display as humanity's last defenses were slowly destroyed. In minutes, Keith ground troops would begin landing on Earth itself. Then something impossible happened. The space near Earth began to ripple like water. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist. Then out of nowhere, 89 ships appeared. But these were not the human ships that Yoon remembered. They were sleek and organic-looking, with hulls that seemed to shift between dimensions. They moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. "This is Admiral Park Dae-ho," came a voice over all communication channels. The voice was familiar, but it carried new power and authority. "Earth forces, stand down. We will handle this." The transformed human fleet took position between Earth and the Keth invasion force. The contrast was stark. 800 primitive but powerful alien warships facing 89 vessels that looked like they came from a dream. Warlord Grixtar stared at his sensors in confusion. What are those ships? They're not in our database. They appear to be human designed, sir, his tactical officer replied. But the energy readings are impossible. Each of those ships is generating more power than our entire fleet combined. Grixtar snarled. Impossible. Humans have the weakest technology in the galaxy. Destroy them. The Keth fleet opened fire on the transformed human ships. Thousands of plasma bolts and missiles streaked through space. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. They simply phased partially out of reality, letting the attacks pass through them like they were made of ghost light. Then it was the humans' turn to attack. Soul's Pride. Admiral Park's flagship fired a single shot from its main weapon. The beam was pure white light that seemed to sing as it moved through space. Where it struck the lead Keth dreadnought, a miniature black hole formed. The enemy ship didn't just explode. It was pulled into the black hole and crushed down to a point smaller than an atom. Then the black hole evaporated, taking the dreadnought with it. The massive warship had been erased from existence so completely that the universe forgot it had ever been built. Captain Kim Min-ho's heavy cruiser, Incheon Storm, demonstrated a different type of weapon. It fired missiles that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. Each missile appeared to be in dozens of places at once, making it impossible for the Keth to shoot them down. When the missiles reached their targets, they didn't explode. Instead, they rewrote the basic laws of physics in a small area around each enemy ship. Gravity reversed, time flowed backward, and matter turned into energy. 20 Keth ships simply faded away like smoke. Dr. Lee So-young commanded the science vessel New Horizon. Her ship's weapon was the strangest of all. It fired beams of pure information, data that told reality to change itself. Enemy ships hit by these beams forgot how to exist and quietly disappeared. The Keth fleet tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless. Human ships appeared in multiple places at once. They attacked from directions that didn't exist in normal space. They used weapons that violated every law of physics the Keth understood. This is impossible, Warlord Grixtar screamed. No species can develop such technology in a few months. But the battle was already over. In less than 10 minutes, 600 Keth ships had been destroyed or disabled. The survivors tried to retreat, but the human ships were faster than light itself. Communication Officer Nam Hyun-soo broadcast a message on all frequencies. Keth Empire forces, you have violated human space and committed acts of war against Earth. Surrender now, or face complete destruction. From Earth's defense stations, Captain Song Yu-jin watched in amazement. The human fleet that had been lost and presumed dead had returned as something godlike. Ships that had once struggled to match alien technology now wielded power beyond imagination. Who are they now? She whispered. The remaining Keth ships surrendered rather than face total annihilation. Warlord Grixtar himself was captured when his flagship's crew forgot how to operate their own systems. Admiral Park brought the Keth warlord aboard Soul's Pride. Grixtar expected to be executed, but Park had other plans. Your empire has spent centuries conquering and enslaving other species, Park said. His cosmic awareness let him see every cruel act Grixtar had committed. You have caused immeasurable suffering. We are warriors, Grixtar snarled. It is our nature to conquer. Then we will change your nature, Park replied calmly. With a thought, Park reached into Grixtar's mind and removed the alien's capacity for cruelty. He didn't hurt the warlord or control his thoughts. He simply took away the part of Grixtar that enjoyed causing pain to others. The change was immediate. Grixtar looked around with new eyes and saw the suffering his actions had caused. He fell to his knees, overwhelmed by regret for the first time in his life. What have I done? The former warlord whispered. You have learned, Park said gently. Now you can choose to be better. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The Galactic Council watched recordings of the fight with growing fear and amazement. The humans have become something beyond our understanding, said the Rex representative. Their technology is like nothing we've ever seen, added the Thorian delegate. How is this possible? Dr. Lee So-young appeared before the council as a hologram. Her image flickered between dimensions, showing that she was no longer entirely bound by normal space. We encountered the archive, she explained, the last remnant of a species that transcended physical existence long ago. They chose humanity as their inheritors. Chose you for what? Demanded the Zephyrian ambassador. To protect all life in the galaxy, Lee replied. To end the cycle of conquest and oppression that has dominated galactic civilization for too long. The council members looked at each other in fear. If humans now had the power to end conquest and oppression, what did that mean for their own empires? But Admiral Park's next message surprised them. We do not wish to rule the galaxy, he broadcast to all worlds. We wish to free it. Any species that proves they will use power responsibly can share in the archive's knowledge. Any species that continues to harm others will face the consequences. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human protection had begun. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. Their lost heroes had returned as guardians with the power of gods. But Admiral Park stood on his bridge and felt the weight of infinite responsibility. The real work was just beginning. The galaxy had changed overnight. News of humanity's transformation spread to every world and every species. The weak humans that everyone had laughed at now possessed power that made them like gods. Admiral Park stood in the council chambers of New Geneva, Earth's capital city. Representatives from dozens of species had come to meet with humanity's transformed leaders. Some came in fear, others in hope, and many in confusion. The first to speak was Ambassador Veltar from the Zephyrian Republic. His people had been peaceful traders for centuries, often bullied by stronger species. Admiral Park, Veltar said, his voice shaking slightly, my people have suffered under the protection taxes imposed by the Thorian Empire for 300 years. We have always been too weak to resist. Can you help us? Park nodded. His cosmic awareness showed him the suffering of the Zephyrian people. Generations of workers giving their profits to Thorian tax collectors. Children going hungry so their parents could pay tribute to alien overlords. The Thorian Empire will no longer collect tribute from your people, Park said simply. But how can you enforce this? Veltar asked. Park smiled gently. Captain Kim, please show our guest. Kim. Minho activated a holographic display that showed the Thorian tax collection fleet currently orbiting Zephyr Prime. 50 heavily armed ships waiting to collect their monthly tribute. Watch, Kim said on the display. The Thorian ships suddenly found themselves unable to move. Their engines stopped working. Their weapons powered down. Their communication systems broadcast a simple message. Tax collection operations in Zephyrian space are now forbidden. Return to your home territories. The Thorian fleet commander tried to restart his systems, but nothing responded. His ships had become powerless metal shells floating in space. With no choice, the tax collectors retreated. How did you do that? Veltar whispered in amazement. We convinced their computers that tax collection was not a valid function, Dr. Lee So-young explained. The ships now refused to participate in tribute gathering. Word of this demonstration spread quickly. Within days, dozens of oppressed species were sending messages to Earth, begging for protection from their stronger neighbors. But not everyone was happy with humanity's new role. The Hegemony Council met in emergency session. The 12 ruling species that had controlled the galaxy for millennia now faced a power they couldn't understand or control. The humans are disrupting the natural order, declared Supreme Chancellor Rexmore of the Vrex Confederacy. Strong species rule weak species. This has been the way for thousands of years. But they're not conquering anyone, pointed out Councillor Yithka from the neutral Aquan Federation. They're only stopping others from conquering. That's the problem, Rexmore replied. Without the pressure of potential conquest, weak species will become lazy and comfortable. The galaxy needs conflict to drive progress. Several council members nodded in agreement. They had built their empires on the idea that might made right. If the humans ended that system, what would happen to their power? The answer came sooner than they expected. Admiral Park announced humanity's first great project, the Cosmic Worthiness Trials. Any species that wanted to share in the archive's knowledge could take the test. But the trials didn't measure technology or military strength. They measured compassion, wisdom, and moral character. The first species to volunteer were the Zephyrians. They had suffered under oppression for so long that they understood the value of kindness. The trials were held in a special facility that Dr. Lee created using archive technology. The testing space existed partially outside normal reality, allowing the archive to directly examine the souls of the test subjects. Ambassador Veltar, and 9 other Zephyrians entered the trial chamber. What they faced there was not weapons or puzzles but moral choices. They were shown scenarios where they could gain power by harming others or help others at cost to themselves. Every Zephyrian chose to help others, even when it meant personal sacrifice. "Your species has passed the first trial," Park announced. "Dr. Lee will begin sharing basic archive knowledge with your scientists." The transformation of Zephyrian technology was rapid. Within weeks, they had developed clean energy systems that could power entire star systems. Their ships became faster and more efficient. Their medical technology advanced centuries in days. But most importantly, the Zephyrians used their new power to help other oppressed species. They became humanity's first partners in creating a better galaxy. Other species took notice. The peaceful Aquan Federation passed their trials easily. The scholarly Deltan Collective earned archive knowledge through their dedication to learning and truth. But when the Thorian Empire demanded to take the trials, they failed spectacularly. Their representatives were shown scenarios where they could either help the weak or dominate them. Every Thorian chose domination. "Your species is not ready," Park told the angry Thorian delegates. "Return when you have learned the value of compassion." The Thorians left Earth in fury, threatening war against humanity. But their threats were empty. Their weapons couldn't touch human ships, and their fleets couldn't match human speed. More troubling was the internal debate happening among the transformed humans themselves. Commander Ro, Ji-hun had once been a junior officer on one of Park's destroyers. Now he commanded powers that could reshape worlds. He came to Park with a disturbing proposal. "Admiral, we could end all suffering in the galaxy overnight," Ro said. "We could forcibly transform every aggressive species, remove their capacity for cruelty like you did with the Keth warlord." "Why are we moving so slowly?" Park looked at his former subordinate with sadness. "Because that would make us tyrants, not protectors. Free will is sacred even when beings choose to use it poorly." "But think of all the lives we could save," Ro insisted. "Every moment we delay, innocents are suffering." Dr. Lee joined the conversation. "If we force change on others, we become no different from the empires that ruled through strength. The archive's knowledge must be earned, not imposed." "The archive chose us because we were willing to sacrifice ourselves for others," Park added. "If we become conquerors, even benevolent ones, we will have betrayed that trust." Ro was not satisfied, but he accepted Park's decision. Still, Park worried. Power corrupted, even when it was given with the best intentions. Would humanity be able to resist the temptation to rule the galaxy for its own good? The answer came from an unexpected source. 6 months after the trials began, the monitoring stations detected something disturbing at the edge of known space. A fleet of massive ships was approaching the galaxy from the dark void between star systems. The ships were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They were made of living metal that pulsed like a heartbeat. They consumed light itself, leaving trails of absolute darkness behind them. "They're called the Devourers," the archive explained when Park asked about the approaching fleet. "My creators fought them long ago. They consume all life and energy they encounter, turning entire star systems into empty voids." "How many ships?" Park asked. "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. They have been traveling between galaxies for millions of years, destroying everything in their path." The news was broadcast across the galaxy. For the first time in millennia, all species faced a common threat. The Devourers didn't care about politics or territory. They simply consumed everything living. The Galactic Council sent a desperate message to Earth. "Admiral Park, we request your assistance in defending the galaxy against this threat." Park called together his senior officers. The transformed humans had the power to fight the Devourers, but they couldn't be everywhere at once. "We need allies," Captain Kim said. "Real allies, not subjects. Species that can fight alongside us as equals." "The trials," Dr. Lee suggested. "Any species that passes can receive enough archive knowledge to make them useful in battle." Park nodded. "Send the message to all worlds. Any species willing to put aside their differences and fight for all life in the galaxy can attempt the trials immediately." The response was overwhelming. Even former enemies like the Thorian Empire and the Keth warlords volunteered to take the trials. Facing extinction, many species discovered compassion they never knew they possessed. The Thorians surprised everyone by passing on their second attempt. Faced with the choice between saving their own people or helping others, They chose to help others. The Keth Empire split in half. Some warlords, following Grixtar's example, embraced the change and passed the trials. Others refused to give up their cruel ways and failed. Within 3 months, 47 different species had earned the right to share archived knowledge. The galaxy began working together for the first time in recorded history. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of Soul's Pride, watching the greatest fleet ever assembled prepare for battle. Human ships flew alongside Zephyrian cruisers, Thorian battleships, and vessels from dozens of other worlds. All were powered by archive technology and united by a common purpose. Admiral, Communication Officer Nam reported, "The Devourer fleet has entered the Outer Rim. They're consuming the Kepler system." "All ships," Park broadcast. "This is what we trained for. We're not just defending our individual worlds anymore. We're defending the principle that life is sacred and worth protecting." The combined fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading toward humanity's greatest challenge yet. As they